Shake here, featuring the Steyr Waffentrager in a couple of games where two vastly different maps, but trying to make what is a very, very much a pure sniper be able to get damage in when in neither game is it top tier, and you have to deal with providing support while not getting killed. That is very much how the Waffentrager line entirely, and this is just a premium one. I actually think all along this would have made a better addition to the line than the Steyr would have. Looking back on it, if World of Tanks had put this at tier 7 following the Nashorn, but preceding the RHM Borsig, this would have actually been more suitable to the line, whereas the Steyr could have been a premium. But of course, that's just me thinking out loud here. But I honestly think it would have worked better. You have the D-Max as a tier 6 premium, and the Steyr with some modifications could have been a tier 8 premium. And I do mean by modifications, they would have to give it much higher ammo capacity, better gun handling, higher hit points, etc., etc. But for the feel of the line, after the Nashorn, you would have had all turreted, low armor tank destroyers, but they would all be turreted. The Steyr fits into the playstyle of the RHM and the Waffentrager Panzer IV far better. As you see, you just get some concealment, find a position where you can keep enemies at arm's length, as close as you can to your white detection circle. And as you see, I'm firing through the trees here from behind one I knocked over. So I've got double concealment. And this is where here I have to be careful. I'm letting him get behind the trees there. Now I can shoot while staying hidden. Again, I'm letting him give me the double concealment. People call it the double bushing. But as long as there's 2 rows in between you and your target, they're not going to spot you. The 2 rows don't have to be right in front of you. As you see, I've got trees here, but when the LT-432, when he actually drove behind a couple of trees there, almost right on top of him, he provided me with the concealment I needed to stay hidden. And that's something you have to take into account. Just make sure your fire lanes have plenty of concealment between you and your targets when you play any of the tanks on this line. Now, the Steyr Waffentrager has the 88 L71. That's the same weapon that was actually proceeding on tier 6 on the Nashorn, and here at tier 7 it's still a very, very valid weapon. The tier 7 using this, of course, that everybody's used to is the Tiger and the Tiger P. Those are actually in the top 2 or 3 of my favorite tier 7 heavies, and they're very capable with the same gun. This has a very high rate of fire, good accuracy, but you must let it fully aim. German guns have good stats on paper, but there's one caveat to it. If you do not fully aim, they get very clumsy in a hurry. And you'll see with my gameplay, I tend to spam shots because I don't care about my accuracy rating, and generally, outside of a few, German vehicles carry a lot of ammo. As you see, I've just been flinging shots at low percentage chance, like the cupola of an LT-432 that's moving. But I still have 21 AP shells, and I still have my full stock of premium and a few HE. I don't spam premium, and that's part of why I don't care about spamming shots. This is dirt cheap ammo. The 88 actually has one of the lowest ammo costs for the tier. These shells, if I remember correctly, only cost 250 credits per shot. So in comparison to like the 105s and the 12.8s and the 122s that generally have a price of the standard ammo at 1,000 to 1,500 per shot, I can fire 3 or 4 shots without even equaling the costs of theirs. So long range, Shot spamming? Check. I do it non-stop. See, that wasn't even fully aimed, breaking my own cardinal rule of letting a German gun fully aim. And that is where you will actually get far better performance out of a German weapon. The Panther has great accuracy for a tier 7 premium or tier 7 medium, but even it will get a little wild and ragged on its grouping. And again, you see me, I literally just had the very tip top of the IS-6's turret. Fling a shot. If it hits, it hits. If not, I'm going to be reloaded before he's even back out and ready for me to fire again. And right here, didn't even let it settle. Fired. It goes slow. But again, it's like I'm more interested in moving to get my next couple of shots. I will happily fling low percentage chance because you never hit what you don't fire at. So a big part of why I like German vehicles. Now, Steyr Waffentrager, full turret, 208 or 203 millimeters of 88 penetration here, and very, very unreliant on premium ammo. The 203 millimeters of penetration out of the 88's AP round is more than enough to deal with tier 8s, and more than enough to deal with many tier 9s. And the turret allows a little bit of flexibility, like this right here. I'm full health. My heavy is not. I was going for a tracking shot, and then I was going to go around. I actually got the track, not with my shot, but with the ram, which cost me a lot of my health. But I still have the health. I can easily come up here and take some pot shots at the KV-5. If he hits me, okay. Because he does have a high rate of fire and a better gun than a lot of the Russian vehicles. Not pen-wise, but in the gun handling department. So I do need to be a little careful, but I have health to spare. If I take a hit, so be it. Because my King Tiger C beside me, he can't take a hit of any kind. And that's something a lot of tank destroyers, especially in the endgame situations, they don't realize. You don't have to have armor to take a hit. You can take the hit for your teammates with your hit points. Because as long as you at least have one, you have enough to keep fighting. And yeah, that cupola there is being pretty trollish to me because I hit it dead on. You can even see the mark there. Because that KV-5 should be dead. I had multiple hits on his cupola and on his radio operator position on the little mini turret. And I was trying to keep that King Tiger alive. But sometimes the rounded armor of those can be very trollish, even if you have more than enough penetration to go through. So now this is endgame. We have a 4-tank lead, but look closely at the HP bars. The game's closer than you think. Now, they unfortunately just lost a big chunk of their hit point advantage, but again, they have a couple of tough vehicles left. And here I am having to try a pinpoint shot on a tough vehicle, which, as you see, 203 millimeters of pen is enough to go through the cupola only, and I have to hit that dead on. So I do switch over to the APCR first time in the battle for the 244 pen that the APCR has. That has turned some of his frontal armor into a possible penetration. You gotta remember, the penetration indicator on World of Tanks, it's just showing the amount of penetration that your current ammo has versus the sheer armor thickness. It does not take angling or anything else into account. It's just saying, if I have 120 millimeters of pen and I am aiming at a target with 100 millimeters of armor, it will show as green. Now, if they're angled at a 45-degree angle and they have effective armor of 200 millimeters, it's going to bounce. But your penetration indicator doesn't know that. But that game did end with an ace. Very typical snipey battle. But it shows what the Steyr Waffentrager can do. And in a nice solid game, I was top in experience and in damage. Our WZ-131 also did very nicely in experience. Now I did fire those few APCR shells at the end, which increased my ammo cost, but I still earned a pretty good amount of credits out of a tier 7, since I actually had a free day of premium or two from World of Tanks. I personally don't do premium account hardly ever. I normally either run premium vehicles, or if I am going to get anything in the game, it's either premium vehicles or gold, because they stay in your account forever. The premium time runs out, and if I take 3 days of a break, I do not want my premium account just to be sitting there unused while I'm outside doing other things. Now, here on Minsk, not your typical snipey map. I see a lot of tank destroyer players say that they don't like this map. I actually have about 3 positions that I choose, and this goes for both sides. If I see nobody going here all the way over to the east, you really need your team to have at least one tank destroyer sniping from the backpack here who can help keep the enemy forces in check. If you don't have that, they can push up uncontested, and then your heavies who are brawling there, they end up having to fight a multi-directional battle, which is not good. They'll take flanking fire from one side or the other, and sometimes from both sides at the same time. So even if I don't do a lot, I at least keep the enemies kind of honest and in check here. Now I'm all the way at the very back, and that's for 2 reasons. I have solid cover, and I've knocked a tree down to provide me with a little bit of concealment. Now I will get spotted if they decide to push up, and if they're aware at all, they'll just blind fire right at this corner. I do that myself. But a lot of times, enemies they're not that proactive. So you can use the DPM of the Steyr or another fast-firing tank destroyer to perma-track somebody and alternate your shots in between. Track, deal damage. If you can deal damage while tracking, great. And unfortunately, these vehicles do make it hard to aim. So sometimes I do just fire, again, a very low percentage chance shot just to get rid of those things. And here I have a very, very low chance shot, and it actually sneaks its way through his front drive wheel. But again, just having me here firing is keeping the enemies in check. And yes, you are seeing me actually sniping outside of render range. I do that typically. All you have to do is use your aiming line, which extends all the way off the edge of the map. Line it up where you know that the enemy is sitting. Like, I know that Tiger's sitting there, at least he was, and I got a hit on him. Something you can do, especially if they're sitting in a very, very common spot. And eventually, enemies tend to get impatient. And that's the case with both the Tiger and the Super Pershing here. Now, my Caliban, of course, is making the worst mistake he could do. He's pulling out sideways. Now, if he got permatracked and killed there, that would ruin my ability to cover that area. So we need teammates to not die right there, because they would provide perfect cover for the enemies. Now, you can see I'm trying to get below that additional armor on the Super Pershing. Because the Super Pershing basically comes down to, you don't want to fire at the upper plate unless you can hit the couple of weak spots that are there. Don't fire where you see the additional armor on the front of the turret. Fire everywhere it's a normal Pershing. Normal Pershing has no substantial armor. And now I notice the enemies are pushing. A lot of times you can catch somebody and track them here, and that's what I am aiming for, but didn't reload quite in time. I was trying to shoot for engine or track, because either can slow down an enemy who's trying to cross there. And I was doing the spotting on that STA, and he just flat out wasn't able to get enough vision to spot me through the concealment here. And all I do is I knock that tree down behind me every time I come over here. Our team's won the West. And it's coming down to myself and the AT-7 and the Caliban, who's now positioning himself back behind me. It's coming down to us just basically to bottleneck. And the Scorpion G, it's not apparent right now, but if you look at his position, he's been firing into the city. And until then, the AT-7 was doing a very nice job of just being a block of steel to help slow down the enemies. But between the Scorpion, the AT-7, myself, and this Caliban, we just have to slow down the enemies where we are outnumbered. Caliban actually hit both of his shots. Killed the Tiger with one and killed the T-32 with the other. So now I know he's on reload and he's bailing. So I need to get back out here to get eyes on the corner. It's 100%. That STA is going to come this way. And there he is poking. Caliban's still going to be on reload. And here's the Super Pershing. But, again, I'm at full health. I was getting ready to charge in there and try to offer myself as another target. Because a lot of people will make the move to shoot whoever they think is the easier target to damage. Which is obviously me. I have the least armor in the game here outside of artillery. Actually, scratch that. That M12's hull probably has more armor than I do. So I have seen, even though I'm full health and the Caliban was low health, I've actually seen people in that situation. Like the Super Pershing very, very likely would turn his turret and shoot me. Even though he's not going to kill me, he'd need 4 shots. He'll sit there and do that and let the Caliban actually reload and kill him. While he dies before he's even going to have a chance to get his 4 shots. But a lot of the enemies aren't aware enough of that. So again, paper armor tank destroyer, don't be afraid to offer up, especially towards the end of the game and you're full health, don't be afraid to offer up your hit points to keep a teammate alive. But again, a map that's not very snipey, and I actually did better than on the Serene Coast battle. I had more assistance and more raw damage. Turned out to be a very nice battle where I got ace as well as the Confederate, which you'll get Confederates quite often with things that are high rate of fire. And I finished the game with over 1,200 experience and almost 3,000 damage. Top damage goes to the Scorpion G, who only had 5 more than me, and the AT-7, who was acting as a roadblock. He actually got quite a bit of experience out of that while dealing decent damage himself. Didn't fire any premium at all this game, so I made quite a bit of credits, and I actually had a premium account running that I think I'd earned for free. But I hope you enjoy this, and thanks for watching.